Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing this adorable card featuring some brand new products, especially for World Card Making Day, that are available exclusively at ellenhudson.com. And I'm going to show you how you can use that World of Thanks stamp set to create your own sentiment background. It's a custom sentiment stamp background. And I'm also going to be using this Bear Wear Grand Tour stamp set as well as the coordinating dies. This bear is very popular over at ellenhudson.com, so if you want him, you better grab him while he's here. I'll also be using the Planet Surface die, which is really cool and a really cool thought for World Card Making Day, as well as this World of Thanks stamp set. That's the one that I'm going to be using to create that custom stamped sentiment background. Now, in honor of World Card Making Day, there is a kit available over at ellenhudson.com, and it includes some of this Lawn Fawn Watercolor Wishes pattern paper, as well as some adorable heart washi and some diamond stickles. So I'm going to be incorporating a lot of these products into today's project. Now, I'm going to start out by grabbing some of the Watercolor Wishes pattern paper here, and I'm going to use the Planet Surface die to die cut kind of the edge of my globe as well as some continents or land masses here. Now you could create your own watercolor design if you want to, but this makes it really easy, and I love how the colors just kind of blend together. Now the cool thing about this pattern paper is also that there are several different shades of green on this green paper here, so I can make my continents different colors. And you can see I'm just holding my dies in place with some low tack tape and running them through my Gemini Junior to die cut all of my pieces. Now once I have my pieces cut out, I'm going to kind of show you how they arrange onto this Planet Surface edge to create a really cool globe effect. And I'll be using that, actually just a small portion of that, on today's card. For now, I'm going to go ahead and set that aside, and I'm going to get to working on my bear here. And this bear is an exclusive release for World Card Making Day. It is Bear Wear Grand Tour. He's a little bit smaller than the previous or original bear. And I love that the die cuts his arms so that they are open and can hold some items. And there's plenty of items in this. It's kind of got this world traveler theme for the bear. And it has some hats and some famous landmarks that I'm not even going to try to name because I'm sure I will get them wrong. And it also has this adorable little camera and a little globe. I'm going to be stamping several of these images here using the Gina K Obsidian Amalgam ink onto some Neenah Solar White heavyweight cardstock. Now I used my Misty stamping tool to do that, but you could absolutely use a clear block if that's what you prefer. And I'm going to do some simple Copic coloring, and I will have all of the Copic colors that I used linked over at the ellenhudson.com coordinating blog post so that you can see the Copic markers that I used. But I'm using some very, very light colors. My bear and all of the accessories are not going to be super saturated in color. I'm going to kind of let them just be really muted and soft. And in order to do that with Copic markers, you need to really start with muted and soft Copic markers. And so I've done that today, and I've used my colorless blender to do some blending out of those very light colors. Now, once I have all of my images colored, I am going to use the coordinating Bear Wear Grand Tour dies to die cut all of these images so that I have them ready to go on my card. And the thing that I love about this very kind of pale Copic coloring technique is it doesn't take that long. You don't need a lot of markers to do it, and the results are absolutely beautiful. Now you can see my little bear, when he die cuts, his little arms open up, and this is one of my favorite parts about this bear. He's come back in many forms over the years, but my favorite part is that his arms kind of open up so that you can nestle things in there. Now I'm using some tape runner adhesive to adhere these land masses onto my Planet Surface edge here. And then I'm going to position this entire piece onto the bottom of a rectangle that I die cut using the Essentials by Ellen rectangle dies. So I have this die cut here. You don't actually need to do this because I kind of I kind of made more work for myself. And you'll see that here in just a minute. I did think I was going to maybe ink blend over the top of this for the sky, but I end up going a totally different direction. So at this point, it seemed like I needed to adhere this onto the rectangle, but in the end, maybe not so much. So once I get that adhered on, I am going to just trim off the excess of this Watercolor Wishes pattern paper. And then this is where I decided I really want a dark kind of night sky looking background. So I am going to use the Planet Surface die, line it up with the surface that I've adhered onto this white rectangle and die cut it. So I just have that piece of pattern paper that is backed with the white cardstock. Yes, there are easier ways to do this, but that's not the path I took today. So I kind of left this in here so you could see that. Now here's where I'm going to use that Essentials by Ellen rectangle die to die cut some navy cardstock. This is Midnight cardstock from Concord and Ninth. And I'm going to actually add a little bit of hot foil detail onto this rectangle. So I am using the Essentials by Ellen Tiny Stars hot foil plate. And I'm adding my foil with the pretty side facing the design of the hot foil plate. So the back part, or the more dull side of the foil, actually touches my cardstock. I have my foil press set to medium heat and my timer set to 20 seconds. And once that heats up and the timer runs out, I'm going to remove the platform from the base of the foil press and run that through my Gemini Junior. And then I have these adorable foiled stars on this dark navy background. Now, I very rarely get over foiling with my foil press, but I did today, and that's not a big deal. I can just take my eraser and erase the areas where I got a little bit of over foiling. And now I'm grabbing my Catherine Pooler Juniper Mist ink, and I am going to just blend in a little bit of this navy ink on the upper corners, just to kind of add a little variation to this background so that it's not just this flat navy. You may not even be able to tell in the photos that I actually did this, but I think it adds kind of a little bit of dimension to this piece rather than have it be flat. So once I get that ink kind of blended over there, you can see I'm blending right over those foil stars. I'm going to clean up my work surface. I do work on a glass mat and I absolutely love it because it's easy to clean up. And now I'm going to use a dry cloth to just buff off the areas, the foiled areas where I have ink kind of sitting on top of that foil, and it just cleans right off. So now it's time to work on that custom sentiment stamp background. And I'm going to be using the new Essentials by Ellen World of Thanks sentiment stamp set. You could use any sentiment stamp set that you want. I really like the bold and kind of very simple font of this brand new stamp set, and it has the word thanks in a bunch of different languages. Don't ask me what all the languages are. I know Spanish, and that's pretty much it. And I know that merci is thanks in French, but the rest of these, I could take a guess, but I'm not gonna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up these various sentiments at an angle onto my card base. This is a top folding A2 size card base made from some Essentials by Ellen linen cardstock, and I decided to go ahead and do these on an angle. Now I'm placing several of these sentiments onto my card base so that I could stamp them all at once. But if you don't have a MISTI stamping tool, you could absolutely use an acrylic block to achieve the same effect. You may need to draw some lines to help you kind of keep everything on the same angle. But if you have a MISTI stamping tool, you can pick up several of these sentiments at once, ink them all at once, and stamp them all at once. Now to stamp these sentiments onto my card base, I'm using the Concord and Ninth Ballet Slipper ink. It is one of my favorite pale pink inks. I just love the tone of it. It is perfection in my opinion. And because it was a little light on this white cardstock, I wanted it to show up a little bit more. I'm going to re-ink the stamps, leave them in place. I left my card base in place, and I stamped them again using my MISTI stamping tool. So these are double stamped onto this background. Now I'm going to clean off these stamps and I'm going to reposition them to fill up the rest of my card. So I'm going to kind of keep the same angle that I used before. I'm just kind of judging based on my previous stamping what angle these stamps need to go on. And then I'm just kind of lining them all up and nestling them into each other. And I'm trying to use kind of like, if you were to think of bricks, how the edges of bricks don't all line up on a perfect line, I'm kind of using that idea in my head so that the first letter of each of these words isn't perfectly lined up. They're kind of staggered a little bit. Once I have them positioned where I want them, I'm going to go ahead and ink them up in the Ballet Slipper ink once again and stamp them right onto my card base. Now this, like I mentioned, is a great way to create a custom background. So you can use whatever sentiment stamp you may have in your stash to create a background for your card. It's very simple and graphic, and by using this light ink, it kind of helps it to blend into the background, but gives the card just a little something extra, if you know what I mean. Now, once I stamp that second grouping of sentiments, you can see that I have a few areas that are kind of blank. So I grabbed a couple more of the sentiments that I had not previously used, and I lined them up to kind of fill in those gaps, and I'm going to ink them up with the Ballet Slipper ink and stamp them onto my card base. Now I did double stamp these as well, and that completes my background here. I have this custom background that kind of lends itself to this world card making idea. And when I was kind of thinking and playing with these products, I was like, you know, language doesn't always unite us across the continents and across the world, but there is a language that does kind of unite us, and that's the language of love and gratitude. And so that's really what this card is about. It has the kind of world there with the bear kind of straddling it. I have thank you in all of the different languages kind of spread across the back of this card. And then I'm going to take this small saying stamp. It says thank you, and I'm going to white heat emboss it onto this navy cardstock. So I prep my surface. Using a powder tool, I stamped it in Versamark ink and added my white embossing powder, and now I'm heat setting that. Now I trimmed it into this little banner shape, and I decided that this would be really adorable to have the bear kind of hold this as a flag so that he in the end will end up holding a heart and a flag that says thank you. And I just thought that was a really fun idea. So I'm just using some liquid glue to attach this banner shape onto a toothpick. And I'm using my trusty Tim Holtz scissors here to just trim that toothpick down. And I'm going to slide it into the bear's arms and just use some liquid adhesive to hold that in place. Now at this point, my bear actually has a camera in his arms, but this is where I decided I really wanted him to have a heart. So I grabbed the Essentials by Ellen Just Squidding stamp set and coordinating dies, and I stamped this adorable heart, colored it with my Copic markers and die cut it, and then nestled it into the bear's arms. Now to add a little bit of shine to this finished card project, I'm taking the diamond stickles and I'm outlining these little land masses that are here, and I'm going to add some stickles also to the globe, to the face of that clock tower, as well as that heart that the bear is holding. And this is just going to give it a little bit of shimmer. And we all know how much I like sparkle and shine and glitter. And so I managed to keep away from sequins and extra embellishments like that. But I got my shine in by using the foil as well as the stickles on this finished card project. Now, once I have this little rectangle all ready to go, I added some foam adhesive onto the back of it and attached it to my custom sentiment stamped background card base that I created using that World of Thanks stamp set. And that completes my card for today. And I really love how this card turned out. And I loved kind of thinking about how the languages of love and gratitude and crafting really unite us all, especially on this World Card Making Day. I hope you have a wonderful day and that you find some time to craft and that you were inspired by this project. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, but you can head on over to the coordinating blog post. I will have that in the YouTube description below. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies, as well as the Copic marker colors that I use to color my bear and all of his accessories. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the fabulous paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared here. Thanks again for watching. I'm so glad you're here. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.